Throughout the Harry Potter series, Professor Trelawney is quite a strange character. The main thing about her is that no one quite knows whether to believe her or not, and the conclusion that the books seem to come to is that she is a seer who has made 2 correct prophecies but is pretty much a fraud in everything else. J.K. Rowling also reinforces this theory by herself saying that Trelawney is just an old fraud. But many people have gone back to all of Professor Trelawney's predictions and have argued that a lot of them have in fact come true. So in this video we're going to look at every single prediction that Professor Trelawney has made in the Harry Potter books and see whether they came true or not. The first time that we meet Professor Trelawney is in the 3rd book in Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, and she already makes quite a lot of predictions during her first lesson. First thing she predicts is when she says to Neville, "Is your grandmother well?" "I think so. I wouldn't be so sure if I were you, dear." This very first of her predictions in the books is one of those where we can't know whether it came true or not. We know that Augusta Longbottom is alive by the end of the 7th book, but we have no idea whether she was ill during the 3rd book or not. So this can't be proven or disproven. "By the way, my dear," she shot suddenly at Parvati Patil, "beware a red-haired man." Some people have taken this to mean Ron Weasley, who in the 6th book basically took away Parvati's best friend Lavender, and she wasn't very pleased about this. Some people also say that this just refers to the Yule Ball, where Ron basically ignored her sister Padma for the whole night. So this could very well fit Ron, and that would be fine. Or it could mean something different, but this is a prediction which pretty much came true. Unfortunately, classes will be disrupted in February by a nasty bout of flu. I myself will lose my voice. We don't know if this came true or not. The only thing we know from the books is that the weather in February was very cold and horrible, but we don't know whether people were ill or not. Probably if the weather was so bad, and we have no idea whether Professor Trelawney lost her voice or not. And around Easter, one of our number will leave us forever. This happened, that was Hermione. The next thing is when she tells Lavender that the thing you are dreading, it will happen on Friday the 6th. And basically what happened is that on Friday the 16th of October, Lavender got a letter from home saying that her pet rabbit died. And Hermione is very sceptical about this because she says that, number one, it didn't actually happen on the 16th of October, that's just when Lavender got the letter. But to be fair, she could have been dreading receiving bad news, so that would be fine. The second thing that Hermione says is that she couldn't have been dreading her rabbit dying because he was only young, but I think it's a normal thing to be scared of losing pets or people that you love, so I don't think that Hermione's criticisms are quite correct here. I do think that this was a correct prediction. Maybe it could have been referring to something else. Professor Trelawney doesn't say what year this will be in, so maybe something else happened in another year on the 16th of October. there is nothing like this in the books that really fits, apart from maybe something in the 7th book. We don't know, but I think it fits quite well with her pet rabbit story, so I would say that this was quite a genuine prediction. The next one is what people often say is a self-fulfilling prophecy, because she tells Neville, after you've broken your first cup, would you be so kind to select one of the blue patterned ones? I'm rather attached to the pink. In the end, yes, Neville does break his first cup and later on his second cup when he hears that Harry has the Grim in his cup. So she was correct about this, but a lot of people argue that this was quite an obvious prediction because most of the school knew that Neville Longbottom is very clumsy, and basically when you tell someone that they're going to drop a cup, they're going to be very nervous, so it's quite natural that Neville did drop the cup. Right, the next prediction was when she's talking to Harry. She says, Falcon, my dear, you have a deadly enemy. Which is absolutely true, but as Hermione says, but everyone knows that. But still, it's true. He does have a deadly enemy. You know who. And the next prophecy is when she looks into his cup and says, the club, an attack. Harry does get attacked a lot in the 3rd book, so an attack could be referring to a lot of things. It could be getting attacked by Dementors in his next Quidditch match. It could mean getting attacked by Dementors at the end of the book. It could mean getting attacked by you-know-who in the end. I'm guessing it would refer to the Quidditch match since that was the nearest thing that happened, but Harry did certainly get attacked a lot. Perhaps she does mean the last encounter with you-know-who if the same cup said a deadly enemy and an attack. Perhaps she's saying that in the end he will be attacked by his deadly enemy. We don't know, but it definitely came true. He was attacked a couple of times. Then she goes on to say, the skull. Danger in your path, my dear. Yeah, I mean, Harry is generally surrounded by danger. And then she goes on to tell him that he has the Grim in his cup. My dear boy, it is an omen, the worst omen of death. As we know, Harry didn't actually see the Grim, but he did see Sirius and thought he was the Grim at the beginning of the 3rd book. So the way most people interpret this is that Professor Trelawney saw two things. She saw a big black dog in Harry's path and she saw death. And going by common knowledge of divination symbols, she went, oh, that's a Grim, you're going to die. But technically she basically foretold that he would meet a big black dog, Sirius. And she's also right with the death bit because Harry does kind of die in the end. And before the class leaves, she makes a final prediction saying that Neville will be late for his next divination lesson, and we never find out if he was or not. The next prediction that we find out about is when Professor McGonagall tells the class that Professor Trelawney has predicted the death of one student a year since she arrived at this school. None of them have died yet. This can be taken to mean that, well, okay, fine, that means that Trelawney isn't a true seer. Then some people will go, yeah, well, maybe they die early in their lives, but not while still at school. Okay, maybe. But there is a very scary interpretation of this, which is that those students came back in the 7th book for the Battle of Hogwarts, and those are the students that died there. And that's why Professor Trelawney was always making these terrible predictions and foretelling so many deaths, because these would be the people who would later on die in the Battle of Hogwarts. Obviously not an interpretation that can be backed up by many facts, because we don't know who died at the Battle of Hogwarts. But to be fair, it would make sense if you look at the years, because right now Harry's in his 3rd year. At Battle of Hogwarts he's in his 7th year, and in every year up from when Professor Trelawney started teaching, so when Harry was a baby, up until his year, those would have been pretty much exactly the ages of people fighting in the Battle of Hogwarts, which is not a proof, but it's an interesting interpretation which could make sense. So basically, so far, for all of her predictions, they have either come true, or we don't know if they came true or not. There hasn't been a single prediction which has been disproved, which is quite scary.